Hi, I'm Doug Berns. I am on Instagram, TikTok, and X at DUGLUST, Doug Lust.
When did your love of the Knicks begin? How did it begin?
It began when I was about 5 years old. My brother was a bigger fan than I was at five because he was 11 at the time, and that was right around the finals run against Houston.
Yeah.
And he was really just kind of trying to show me the way of Knicks fandom. And the night that really locked me in for life was our parents made us go to bed before the game was over, and he snuck a battery radio into our room so we could listen to the end of the game on the radio after we were supposedly asleep. So that was the moment that set me on my Knicks fandom trajectory for life.
How have the emotions been sort of like a roller coaster over the years?
Oh, they absolutely have been. I mean, the mountaintop felt like the two finals runs that I've experienced in my lifetime, but we've been all over the map since then. All over the map, up and down.
How about your musical background?
I began studying music. Well, I really began on the bass guitar. That's my main instrument. That's my primary love. When I was 12, and I just fell in love with the instrument and just built and built and built. I went to college for music and then started my professional career as a musician. I had my first paying gig at 18, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been in bands. I've been around the world touring, and it's just me. It's just my essence is making music, and also production and all the skills I've developed on the computer over the years have helped me learn all these other instruments, and just I just have just a serious passion for music that's never been able. No one's ever been able to extinguish that in me.
What is it about music, though? I mean, I love to talk to musicians and creators of all sorts. Just do you realize what impact you have on the world and to some listeners as far as when you put music out?
Such a great question. I think it begins with the impact that music had on me as a kid.
Hmm.
As a bass player, when I was in high school, I heard Iron Maiden for the first time, and their bass player is their main songwriter, Steve Harris. And there was just the songs had this power and this emotion, and his songwriting and his leadership of that band, even though he's the bass player, right? Traditionally, a less in the front role for that
Hmm.
band. The way that he created emotion and led that group was very inspirational for me, and it kind of woke me up to the idea that every type of music has an emotion to tap in on, a place that it hits you, and as the project we're going to talk about, my Knicks project, I cover a variety of types of music with what I make, and my goal is to hit you in the different spots that different types of music will hit you in. So to me, hip hop has one spot, jazz has another spot, funk has another spot, classical has another spot, just different points that it connects with a person. And that's what I love the most about music.
Okay, so what inspires you? What about a game, a win or loss, the way it happens, the roller coaster of emotions through a game? How does that impact the genre that you choose for the post game wrap ups?
So basically, it's a number of factors that go into this, right? I think sometimes I think about more obvious things like where is the opposing team from? And are there cool bands that I like from that city that the
Uh-huh.
opposing team is from? But sometimes I think more about the emotion of a game. For instance, we lost a really tough game to Detroit a couple of months ago. And I had a whole, maybe I was going to do an Iggy Pop song because of Detroit or something like that. And the way we lost was so heartbreaking that I scrapped the instrumental I had planned, and I just tried to make the most somber sounding violins and sad pianos. And so it's really all about can I get the emotion of that game from the instrumental that I chose?
Yeah.
And sometimes it really hits. I did that classic 93 Till Infinity by the Souls of Mischief for the game in the Bay on Saturday night. Tough loss. I didn't know how I was, because it's kind of an upbeat, triumphant song. I didn't know how I was going to flip the emotion to catch the issues I had with the team, the way they played in the loss,
Yeah.
and somehow I was able to develop a concept Like this is why we're ill from 73 until this is why it's gonna be tough for us until we finally win that next championship.
Yeah. So you get the genre that you're gonna do, and you crank those out pretty fast. I mean, are you writing? Are you thinking during the game about a theme or a song? How does it start to formulate?
My typical process is I try to make the instrumentals before the game. So
Hmm.
I just so everybody knows and is clear on this, I make everything from scratch. So all
Okay.
the sounds you're hearing are stuff that it's stuff that I've either played on my guitars and basses I've programmed and mixed into my computer.
Okay.
So there's no samples. I'm not ripping instrumentals from elsewhere. So I really want that to my goal is to create an authentic instrumental if it's a cover of the cover that I'm making. So get all
Okay.
the sounds as close as I can make it. But that's the practice, right? That's the exercise for me.
Right.
So I start with that instrumental, and then I'm a Knicks fan, for 30 years. So I'm gonna watch every game regardless. Project, no project, social media, no social. I'm watching every game. That's just the way it is. Ask
Yeah.
my wife. I haven't taken a game off. Um, and basically I watch for themes and storylines throughout the game. I don't take notes, but is a certain player really in his bag? Is a certain matchup really antagonistic between two players? Is a certain trend happening? Are the Knicks turning the ball over a lot? Are they getting a lot of offensive rebounds? Are they moving the ball well? Or is the offense moving really slowly? So these are all things I'm watching for. And also, is there anything leading into the game that needed attention? Like for going back to the Golden State game, there was all this controversy, obviously, with Draymond Green and his
Yeah.
comments about Cat and
Yeah.
how was Cat going to respond. I thought Cat played a great game. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the W. But these are all things I think about while I'm watching the game, and it all sort of just snaps into focus. And sometimes I'll get a lyrical hook before the game, but I
Yeah.
try not to. I try to let the game inform what I write, which makes
Yeah.
it hard. It makes for some late nights and early mornings, but I don't want to skip steps with this project. So
Well, you're sort of like a basketball player or an athlete. You let the game come to you, and then you
exactly.
react off of that. So recently, you did uh, off of Return of the Mac. Why did you do that? Well, I mean, what inspired you to use Return of the Mac, which just so happens to be one of my son's favorite songs?
First of all, I love that song,
Yeah.
and I agree with your son that it's like one of the best. And I don't know if anyone out there is going through a breakup. Put that song on, you will immediately feel better. Uh, but um, so that song, so I did a Bone Thugs song for when we got washed out by Cleveland. We lost by almost 40.
Yeah.
And Mitchell Robinson, the center, was still not yet back from injury, but he saw, and I knew he was coming back in a couple of games, and he saw that video and he reposted it on his Instagram story, and he was like, "Oh, it's not that serious, man. It's not the end of the world. It's just one game." And I said, and I reached out to him and I was like, "Thank you so much for sharing. I do this for every game." And he was like, "No, it's cool. It's funny." And I was like, "This is so cool." Mitchell Robinson is, acknowledged my work. That's awesome. I love Mitch. I think he's a phenomenal player. He's been here longer than any other Knick that's currently on the team. And then that Memphis game came up, and he came back, and and he played really well in limited minutes because he's still getting his legs back and stuff. But he played really well, and I was like, "It's the return of the Mitch. It's the return of the Mitch. Like we needed him so bad. We needed his defense. We needed his presence, his rebounding, and he's here. And it was a really exciting win. Two huge shots from Anunoby and Brunson to seal the game. So it felt like like a triumphant, like we're moving on from missing Mitch. He's back. It's the return of the Mitch, and it all just kind of fit really nicely. So it was really fun to make that one. And he liked
Yes.
it. Mitchell Robinson liked it. So
Yeah.
that's for you, Mitch. Thank you for all you've done for this team. We appreciate it.
Speaking of the players liking your stuff, just saw something recently where Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart watched one of your videos and they critiqued, they loved it. They kept saying, "Oh man, that's dope, man. That's
Yeah.
dope." How did that make you feel to know that two of the leaders of your team really enjoy your stuff? and it's dope.
I mean, it was I was worried that they were gonna find because I was worried they're gonna find something to get at me about, and Jalen was like, "This is fire, this is
Yeah.
fire." I was like, "Wow, like this is unbelievable." I woke up from a nap and my phone was just on fire from people being like, "Did you see this? Did you see this?" I mean, they're as you said, they're two of the leaders of this team. They're two of the most important voices in the locker room, and to see that they were digging what I'm doing is super important and gratifying for me. And obviously exposed me to more of the Knicks fan base, which meant a
Hmm.
lot to me. And
Hmm.
I didn't ask them to do it; they just did it, and that was powerful
Yeah.
and gratifying because I've worked really hard on this. And another interesting thing I thought about when that happened was they're probably tuning into some of the recaps, at least some of the guys are seeing some of them, and I really try to walk a line. I don't want to be too critical in a harsh way when they don't
Right.
play well. I just want to present how the game went. It's kind of like Mike Breen has a philosophy that he's talked about. Like you, when a guy's having a tough game, you don't say, "Oh, he's playing like garbage." You say, "Oh, he's really struggling today." So I
Right.
I really try to walk that line, and I want the players to know that I'm going to call it like I see it. But that doesn't mean that I'm the type of fan that's like every time they have a rough game, I'm like, "Oh, throw it in the trash, blow the whole team up." So
Right.
so my thing is, I want the players to know that when they play well, I'm going to write about how well they play, and hopefully that inspires them to give us a little extra. I think this is a good team, and I think they've yet to reach their full potential. So part of me making these songs and calling the game like I see it is urging them to just keep fighting and keep going, and because the city appreciates it.
Yeah. So when they're playing well, encouragement. When they're struggling, you'll say that, but soften it a little bit. I get that, and I think the players would appreciate something like that when the rest of the fanatics, I guess, would go totally the opposite way. So you're actually in your own way supporting the team, getting the word out on what they are. Why did you choose this method though for a post game recap? I mean, I find it to be very unique, very creative, musically inclined as you are. I just find it very interesting. Like I said, I had to stop when I was on Instagram and Twitter and saw your stuff. So, what inspired you to do this as a post game react?
Well, thank you for the kind words, Otis. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah.
Um, So I've been on the Knicks Twitter space for a long time, and I've been making videos really since when the pandemic hit and made it more challenging to perform live.
Hmm.
I got really into video software and audio engineering, and it sent me on a whole other trajectory outside of my professional just playing gigs career.
Right,
And I've always loved the Knicks, and I've always felt as though I could make some kind of content contribution that fans would like. And I didn't never really knew I made a podcast. It didn't really land. I mean, it was hard work. It was good, but it didn't, make it all the
right.
way consistency wise. I've made a few funny videos and funny songs over the years that people have enjoyed. And when we got into this season, we traded for Bridges. We traded for Towns. I really liked those moves, and I
Yeah.
was really excited about the roster. I still am. And I just sat there one night being like, I'm locked in on every game. What if just for myself as a challenge, as an exercise, I tried to just write a new song every game? Because that's going to make me a better songwriter, a better producer, and a better musician. So why don't I just see if I can do this? And then I came up with the concept for the split screen video where there's two of me, and sometimes people think I have this twin that I never acknowledge that I just keep in my basement to record the videos, which is always really funny.
Yeah.
But that's the spark was like I want to make some Knicks content that create that because our fan base is so activated and so passionate that if I made the right thing, I knew I could capture them and share my fanaticism, basically.
Yeah.
So that was the impetus. And then along the way, it just kept developing and developing. And then I switched to covers. I used to kind of make just metal, like only metal riffs.
Right.
And then I switched to covers just to try it.
Hmm.
And the response was insane. So then I kind of just immediately locked in and said, I'm going to make really detail oriented instrumentals and make these songs And not only does it hit Knicks fan spot for people, but it's a lot of music from the latest song I've done is from 2009 or something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So it hits a different nostalgia for
Right.
fans of my age group, 20s, 30s, 40s. Like it hits a little bit of a nostalgic note too. So this whole project really developed out of let's see what kind of content I can make and see if I can make myself a better producer and songwriter to what it is now, which has really been fun.
Okay. So I have to admit, when I was first watching, I definitely thought it was two of you. I mean, I thought it was two different guys. I was like, okay, a cool little group. Like, and even when I reached out to you, I'm like, hey, I'd like to interview you guys.
I love it. I love it.
You're like, yeah, I'd love to do it. And I'm like, so I had to look again. I'm like, oh, it's just one of them. So creative, in the like you said, the video software part of it too. I've been trying to do the split screen and stuff, and it's. Have you found that to be difficult? Or has it been something that you've been able to smooth out as you've gone along? Because, like I said, man, I thought it was two different guys.
That's awesome. I love that, and it speaks to the quality of my editing, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear it. Um, yeah, it took me a couple rounds to really get it down to a science.
Right.
But now I have a good sense in my studio space where I can be, because it's all about. I don't want to give too many of the secrets
Yeah,
away,
let's
but
not give that away because I know the
yeah.
secret and I'm trying to
Right.
do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's taken a while to get a nice flow, and I learned a lot about lighting too in this
Yeah.
process. I got myself like a set of real lights to make it look good.
Yeah.
And that's all been a blast. And now I'm starting to try different locations. Like I did my last one. I was at my in-laws for the weekend
Uh-huh.
in New Jersey, and there's a basketball court near their house. So I shot it on the basketball court instead of in my studios. It looks different and it's a
Yeah.
little nicer out. So I shot one of my videos on my back patio. I'm going to be in London this week for a gig.
Nice.
So I'm bringing my stuff and I'm going to figure out a way to cover. I think it's the Hornets game I'm going to need to cover while I'm there. I'm going to figure out a way.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's all been a blast to learn about filming just on my level of like of what I've got at my disposal, my phone, my phone stand, my lights,
Yeah.
and just making it look cool and making it
Yeah.
look crispy and getting the text dialed in because I have the score on top and then I have the lyrics on the bottom. So
Yeah.
have a signature look for those things. That's
Mhm.
all been really fun for me to just learn and get better at.
You spoke about your wife. You spoke about your daughter, I believe. What's been your family's response to this project? They know you're musically inclined, they know you're creative, they know all those things about you, but this way that you choose to use your talents, what has been the response from them?
Well, we also have a little baby too. So we
Okay,
have a 5-year-old and a little baby. Uh,
congratulations,
Thank you so much. I love
father,
them.
father of five here.
Hey, wow, that's awesome, Otis. Wow,
Yeah,
it's so cool.
yeah.
I don't know how you would do that, man. That's
I don't know how we did it either, man, but we did it.
but my wife, one of the first conversations I had when I met her, she's also a musician, so that
Oh, okay.
helps a lot
Yep.
with just kind of understanding each other's mindsets. She's a
Yeah.
super creative woman. Her name is Mary Spencer Knapp. If you want to look her up online, she's an accordionist. But one of the first things I said to her when I met her and things started getting a little more serious was I was like, if you're gonna be with me for a long time, understand that you're marrying my music and
Mm.
you're marrying my Knicks. And that's
Oh,
just what it is to be with me. Is there's always going to be music. I'm never going to stop pursuing my passion and my dreams musically, and I'm never going to stop following the Knicks with all my heart and all my attention is Knicks, 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 and understand that about me. And
wow.
she's not a super big basketball watcher and
Mm-hmm.
fan,
Mm-hmm.
but she understands that this for me has been. I've been in part of many different projects that have achieved varying levels of success,
Yeah.
but this is something that's really connecting with people,
Yeah.
and she's giving me space to really pursue that. And it's hard. There are nights where I don't get to bed till 2, 3 in the morning, and
Woo.
she's been asleep for 4 hours already. Um, and she knows already what it's been like to have a fan that just watches every game.
Right.
So it's extreme patience, it's extreme kindness, and I just thank her for that. And my older daughter went to her first game with me this year, which
Yeah.
was so fun.
Yeah.
And she was falling asleep at halftime, and I said, "Baby, you want to go home?" She said, "No, we got to stay till the end. We got to see if Jalen can pull it out, you know." And I
Oh,
said, I'm raising you the right way."
there you go.
And she gets a kick out of the videos. She said, "Oh, there's two daddies. There's two daddies," and that's really fun for her. And
Yeah.
I've done the effect with her and her friend, like two of us, four of us, there's five of us. You know, it's just that's funny for her.
That's awesome.
Um, but yeah, my family's been super supportive. At times it's hard because it's like I just want to hang out with my wife, or I just want to hang out with my kids, and I gotta make an instrumental for tomorrow. You know, like I gotta keep up the flow and the pace.
Yeah.
But they understand that it's a special moment for me as a musician and a creator, and they're really supportive. So I appreciate that.
I don't know when you dove into this, but I know the pandemic was a big point for a lot of people. You know, you had to
Yes,
do things, as you said, like creatively or alternative routes to get and everybody wanted content at that time. So I remember I went on Amazon. I got the green screen. I got the filters. I got the everything. I got the cam for my laptop. I got all these ring light, all that kind of stuff. And I felt like that was a real turning point and kind of opened up the creativity, because we were starving for it.
absolutely. And what that time period, as difficult as it was,
Yeah,
made me appreciate was just the entire universe that's at your disposal
yeah,
with a laptop, with a phone. There's just so many creative worlds you can delve into. And I used to really think of myself as I'm a bass player. That's what I am. I'm a bass
mhm,
player. And but through the skills I developed in that time period where I couldn't play live gigs on the bass
yeah,
because all the clubs were closed, I've now developed musicianship, vocal ability, production ability, video editing ability that makes it so like I can just create my own universe. That it what's so fun about this project has been people, the fans of it. There are some people who have been really rocking with this for several months now.
yeah.
There's one guy who I put a lamp in the back of my shot usually, and if I forget to put the lamp, he always is like, "Where's the lamp?" So it's like there's all this funny stuff that's like it's a universe, it's a little
Right.
world, and that's like getting forced out of your comfort zone of
Yeah,
I'm just going to show up and play the gig and bring my bass and play the music, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm creating something for myself that out of stuff that I love, out of music that I love, out of a basketball team that I love, and basketball itself. Not being able to play during the pandemic was
yeah,
brutal. Not being
yeah.
able to watch the Knicks during the pandemic was brutal because they didn't make it to the bubble. That was still
Right,
before they were good enough to make the playoffs.
right.
So it's just all those things are like it feels like it all built to this point in a really cool, nice way. And yeah, I'm in I'm having so much fun.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah.
But which genre do you find to be the most popular? You talk about people rocking with you along the way. Which genre do you think it has been the most popular, or it gets the most hits, the most likes, the most comments, or whatever?
Such a good question. I mean, it still says metal recaps on my
Uh-huh.
Instagram bio.
Yeah, so
It's kind of a joke because it's like I've done all kinds of music and I'm
yeah,
just like, it started as a metal thing. So I don't know, maybe I'll change it, but I think it's kind of funny that like you go on and then you see Return of the Mack, like are you expecting um, but yeah, I think the hip hop R&B world that I've started to get into has had the most like instantaneous, like crazy response from people.
right,
Um, but I think every experiment that I've done has gotten an interesting, different reaction.
right.
But I, I I I think that's what's so exciting about this is that I feel like almost any genre can create a moment reflecting on the game for people that enjoy the team.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, let me think. My biggest video ever was a cover of the System of a Down Chop Suey. That was the one that's still the most viewed of all the ones that I've done.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, the return of the Mitch was a huge one, and what's funny is when I sit down to do something like that, metal and rock that's comfortable for me because I can play the guitar, I can play the bass, and
Right.
I can do like the screaming, I can do all kinds of stuff. And I'm like kind of like secretly can rap. I'm not a rapper, I'm a musician, and I try to be able to sing for the purposes of these videos. I'm a decent enough singer, and
Uh,
so that's been fun to really be to sit down for a song. Like when I sat down to do the Souls of Mischief song, I was like, how am I going to rap? How these amazing rappers with these crazy rhyme schemes, how am I going to capture that? And
right.
somehow I did it. And that's
Nice.
what's so fun about this is I'm not a rapper, but I
Uh-huh.
rapped on the song that needed rap. I'm
There
not
you
a
go.
singer, but I sang on the song that needed singing. That's how I look at it. I'm a
Yeah.
musician. I create music. That's what I'm trying to do here. So with the spanning the genres, it's almost like what maybe I'll try a symphony. Who knows? I don't know. I want to try the challenge of all these different genres.
Yeah. So of this Knicks team, you already said you love them. You think they have great potential. With your skill, um, who would you be on this Knicks team? Are you a Jalen Brunson type person? Are you a Mikal Bridges? Who are you?
Man, that's a fun in terms of my actual basketball game itself. I don't want to disrespect anybody on the team because I'm not. but um,
I
but
mean,
I
just in everyday life, in your music, in your, you know, you could say, I'm a leader, I'm a captain, I'm like Jalen Brunson, or just whatever floats your boat, man.
I think my gut just tells me Josh.
Okay.
My gut just tells me Josh Hart because the thing with Josh is it he's everywhere all at once and he's vocal and he's trying to glue everything together, tie everything together. And that's the way I approach. I'm very communicative, I'm very expressive, I'm very emotional. Like you can always see how I'm feeling. That's the fun part of these videos is people know how I felt about the game within a second of turning
Right.
on that particular video. So Josh does a lot of the dirty work to get things done. He never takes a play off. And he makes some mistakes just like I do. And so I think that's what it's all about. And also those games where you need somebody to hit a bunch of three pointers because nope, everybody's been missing the last few games, and then Josh ends up being the one to
Yeah.
hit three or four big threes in a game. That's kind of I really identify with him and his role on the team. And yeah, that I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah. Yeah. He makes some mistakes, but then he comes up with Return of the Mitch, just like you did.
That's
Those
it.
kind of
That's
outputs.
exactly right. It's
So,
exactly right.
give me your top five Knicks all time.
My top five favorite, me personally, Knicks, would be Pat, without question, was my first sports hero of any kind, was Patrick Ewing. Jamal Crawford.
Mm.
I think, by the way, he's done an amazing job on the broadcast for the
Yeah.
Knicks.
Yeah.
He's just been so much fun to listen to. I just love his analysis of the game. Um, Jalen is just done so much for our group, and for this iteration of where we're going. Um, uh, I never watched Clyde Frazier play,
Yeah.
other than watching film of
Yeah.
him, but his presence in our lives, in my life, I've listened to him call the games and just understanding the history and the culture of Knicks basketball that
Hmm.
Clyde Frazier represents.
The
Definitely
precocious
Clyde.
neophytes.
I'm the precocious neophyte in many situations in my life. My daughter is definitely a precocious neophyte. So I love and just what a poet he is also in the
Oh yeah.
booth.
Yeah.
But also I read his guide to style and cool.
Hmm.
If you want to learn really intelligent ways to think about playing defense
Oh
in an
yeah.
actual basketball game, I would
Right.
suggest you read that book.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So Clyde, and who am I going to give the last spot to? That's so tough. Uh,
Carmelo, John
I'm
Starks,
going to
passion.
give it to J.R. Smith.
Okay.
I'm going
Oh
to give it to
wow.
J.R. Smith.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to give it to J.R. Smith, and it's I love everybody you mentioned. I love Allen Houston, Anthony Mason, Carmelo Anthony. I love every Nick, David Lee, Nate Robinson. The list goes on. But the reason I go with J.R. is because the point when the Knicks acquired J.R., his value was very low. They basically got him off the scrap heap.
Hmm.
And then he came in and electrified the Garden and really reignited a lot of excitement around that team. Like we knew we had Melo, but it was like Melo's gonna have to carry this whole thing to make this
Right.
work. And then we bring in JR, who's this dynamic bench scorer, super unpredictable, super exciting character, funny guy, and just some of the most phenomenal dunks in Knicks history,
Oh yeah.
the biggest shots in our recent history. Were made by J.R. Smith. So
Yeah.
I always appreciate how he came on and took the challenge of being here and just was himself all over the court. And
Yeah.
that's why I always love JR.
And
But I think that's my work. But ask me tomorrow, I'll have a different five.
yeah, right. Yeah. Would you say you watch the majority of games at home or in person?
At home for sure.
Okay.
I love going to the Garden, but it's very expensive. Tickets are
Yes. Yeah.
currently crazy expensive, and
Yeah.
a few people have gifted me tickets
That's
over the
very nice.
course of creating this music, and I
Yeah.
appreciate those people who have done that for me. Um, I love being at the Garden. It's feels like home. I've been going there since I was, old enough to walk.
Oh wow.
I was watching Patrick, as a 5, 6 year old in that building. Special,
Yeah.
special memories for me.
Yeah.
Uh, but I like being in my element. And when I have collaborators, sometimes I'll have collaborators come over, other musicians,
Hmm.
rappers, singers. I've had saxophone players, guitarists, all kinds of cool people come over. People that I work with, people that I love, and we sit and we make a night of it. We get some
That's
food,
nice. Yeah.
we watch the game, we record. So yeah, I love to watch the broadcast. I think Mike Breen and I think Kenny Albert, Monica McNutt, Clyde, obviously, all every Alan Hahn, all I love broadcasts.
Yes.
And I love to listen to people who really know the game, analyze it for me while I'm watching it in real time. So MSG has a great commentating team, and the broadcast is presented really well. So I love to watch at home. I love to get all the details and watch at home.
What is it like though when the garden is rocking to be there in person? What's that feeling like?
I've been at the Garden for some of the most elated moments I've ever felt in my life. Uh, when we I was in the game when we clinched against Boston in 2013.
Uh-huh.
Um, no, it wasn't a clinching game. I think we went up 3-1 in the game that
Okay.
I was at. And I remember JR hit a shot and just the volume, the roar, like the building rumbling is so special. Like if these guys give the fans anything to get excited about, we're there. We're
Yeah.
right there with them. And that's the special that Clyde talks about, this harnessing the power of the Garden. And I was there against Cleveland 2 years ago, I think,
Hmm. Hmm.
game four.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett, huge corner three, building shaking, shaking. And I was also there when Tyrese Maxey pulled victory from the jaws of defeat on the Garden floor against us in game four, I think it was, last season.
Yeah.
And you will never believe what it was like from OG and an OB fast break dunk. We're up by 6. There's 50 seconds left. I can't believe it. And then Maxi hits those two shots, and like 20,000 people in a room together, dead silent.
Yeah.
It's just an unbelievable experience. And even games like I was at a wild game where Detroit we narrowly beat Detroit because DiVincenzo dove for a ball out of bounds that maybe should have been a foul, but
Uh-huh.
ended up
Yep.
coming up with the ball, and Josh Hart's under the basket, open for a game clinching layup. This is a regular season game
Oh
against, at
yeah.
the time, Detroit was not very good. Now they're very good. Rocking in November, December, rocking. So there's only really one Madison Square Garden, in my opinion, in terms of fan vibe and energy. It's the best place in the world.
My man. Doug, thank you so much, man. This has been quite entertaining, a lot of fun, man. Great meeting you, great talking to you, getting your story, man, and keep up the great work, man. Like I said, it caught my attention for sure, and I'm a fan, man.
Thank you, Otis. Thank you for having me. This was a real blast, man. Thank you.
All right, continue success.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
All right.